You've worked with some very, very high-profile actors such as, Chris Hemsworth, Ryan Gosling.
George Miller hits you on a Zoom.
Yeah, wow.
And you're like,
that's wild.
You're like, sorry? Like, George Miller wants to talk to me, and he's like, I want to offer you this role. I don't know if you want it. Like, and have a read. I'm like, I want the role. For my character for Fall Guy, the whole ending wasn't the way it was written in the script because I had an idea. They were like, we really liked how you went with the character, so we're going to go this way with it. I try to match up how I'm perceiving reality and how reality is perceiving me. And when they align very easily and naturally, then that's a good indicator that that's a real thing. People popping up out everywhere, and it's like you owe them something now.
I knew you were going to be a famous actor.
I went celibate for like a year.
Wow, here we go.
That's big. You're in the right room. What was your most crazy, exciting, thrilling experience being on set?
Some crazy shit that no one would know.
My first day on set for Furiosa.
We're back.
Oh, we're back in our original place, which is awesome, bro.
You guys tell us, like, do you like this place better or the place we usually use?
I think I like this one better.
It's a better view, obviously, here.
It took us getting away from this and going to the other one because we have another really nice spot to appreciate this one again. Like this is now like
the view here. You walk in the room and you're like,
you feel like you're on the harbour, like inside the water.
And for those guys like listening via audio, we've got like a place that we usually use, which doesn't have so much of the harbour bridge, but this place currently that we used to use and we're back in today has just like a full-on harbour bridge background, like it's next to it, which is amazing.
I just want to say one more thing before you start. So before our guest came in today, Jamie actually used the bathroom. And
that definitely wasn't me.
He used the bathroom, and
that definitely was not me. Oh, this guy, what's he talking about?
It was a little bit stinky.
That's definitely not me.
And then I guess
the guy talking was the culprit.
I guess arrived, and
anyway, speaking of guests, we have a guest today, which is going to be absolutely incredible. Jamie, do you want to give us a rundown of who we've got?
I would love to. So,
in the locker room,
100%. So on today's episode, guys, we have Australia's next up-and-coming superstar actor. He's worked with megastars like Chris Hemsworth and Ryan Gosling. He starred in Mad Max and Fall Guy and happens to be a local from Western Sydney. Please welcome to the locker room, Matuse.
Let's go.
Hey, blessings, man. Peace, guys.
How are you, bro?
I'm blessed, man. Definitely blessed.
So question, as Chris mentioned before, when you walked in, did you smell a bit of a funny smell
man,
from
this
Chris?
from me.
If there were, then you shit roses, man, because it smelled lovely. In there, you know what I mean?
It's all the protein he eats.
Yeah,
How good.
What do you think of the place?
This place is amazing. The view is something else. It's quite lovely feeling like I got this right behind me. Yeah. When I pulled up, I was like, oh, this is extra nice.
Yeah, that's good. First
Shout out to
impression.
Getaways.
Yeah, 100%. Nah, it's cool. It's
You're going to shoot a podcast, this is the place to do it.
100%, bro. We appreciate you coming on the locker room. Got a lot to dive into. Obviously, being an actor, you're probably the first big actor we've had in the locker room, so there'll be so much we can dive into, which will be super, super valuable.
Yeah, man.
But we'd love to sort of, I guess, kick it off the way we sort of do with every guest, is give us a bit of context on like what got you into acting. What was that your inspiration as a kid? Did you have certain actors that you really looked up to? What was your drive and desire to be like, man, I really want to chase after this acting thing?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was actually really young. Like I've wanted to be an actor for as long as I remember. But I remember distinctively when it first hit me, and it was watching Jim Carrey, who's, I guess, my inspiration for wanting to be an actor. Before that, it was Ace Ventura. Yeah. So Ace Ventura, I remember, and I was so young, but I remember he was the first character I had ever seen, and he's the protagonist, where he was so weird, strange. Everyone laughed at him and thought he was like off the edge, but he didn't give a damn about it. Like, he didn't care what anyone else thought. He was just so confident and comfortable in his own skin that as a person, I was like, wow, that's just awesome. Like, this guy doesn't care, you know what I mean? And I love that. But as a performer, I was like, man, this guy's amazing. And then I started realizing, wow, like, this is a thing people do. Like, you act. There's a job out there where you get to create these characters. And so it was like Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber. Bro, those two films
probably
for me.
one of my movies, favorites, honestly.
Man. And they really, that's what inspired me to want to be an actor. And I remember I wrote my first script when I was like 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so you started young.
Yeah, like I was so into it. Like, it was primary school and I was trying to impress a girl. And I wrote this script that we would all perform, you know, how it goes. But then as I got older, I realized, oh, it's actually really hard to be an actor. And I don't live in a place where that's going to be possible. And there's no one on TV that looks like me. And so you know, the world, I started thinking, oh, this is not going to ever like happen for me. And so I guess like I started going into other avenues in my life and kind of left the acting alone.
Wow,
And
yeah.
you know what I mean? It wasn't, man, you get tainted.
Yeah, so you're like putting limitations on yourself based on what the
Instantly,
industry
bro.
was like back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
with
what
the
year are
world-
we talking, like when you were sort of like first starting out?
So I don't know, man, that's so long ago. It would have been in the 90s.
The 90s.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And then I went into like music and different forms of art. And I'm the kind of person who likes to do 1,000,001 things,
Yeah.
which can be problematic. I think if you're if you're creative, you tend to want to, and not just with creatives, like even an ADHD type of mindset, you're just like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, this is awesome. And I always wanted to kind of give myself the freedom to be able to pursue whatever I felt my heart was inclined to. But the problem with that is if you do like 10 things, then you just do them at 10% each, as opposed to one thing 100%.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, and it was only until I was able to, and it was recently, like I wanted to be an actor my whole life, did a bunch of different things, fell into theater. I was doing more theater work here and there. I traveled a bit doing theater work, and I was always like, yeah, this is an awesome thing I love, but it was always one of the things I was doing. And only, I'd say like 4 years ago, I sat myself down and I was like, I need to choose just one thing to throw myself completely into. And at that point, I was thinking of becoming a tattoo artist because I have a couple of tattoos.
Yeah,
already.
we noticed that.
One or two tattoos.
They're actually incredible.
And my like artist who does my tattoos, I was like, man, I'm thinking of becoming an artist, and it was like, yeah, you can intern under me, like I'll guide you through it. But it's like, but if you do it, you can't do anything else. Because like
that's good advice.
you need to do you won't have time for anything else.
Yeah,
so like
facts.
before you go down that pathway, recognize that you're gonna have to let go of anything else you want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, man, that's what I need to do. I need to just do one thing. And I sat about it and I was like, but is it that? Like I love art and I love the idea of tattooing, but is that the thing I would throw everything into?
Yep.
And I thought about the child version of me and what the child version of me would want. And I was like, he always wanted to be an actor.
Yeah, nice.
I can't go and do anything else until I've thrown myself entirely in doing that.
100%.
At least.
And have you felt like,
Sorry, go.
I was just going to say, have you felt like so much more freedom because I feel like people almost put on a persona, not in acting, but like even throughout their life where they take on the perspectives and opinions of other people of what they should do. Not that necessarily you did that, but I feel like once you go all in on the thing that you know you genuinely love, I feel like there's freedom in that, even though it's probably going to be more work, right?
Sure. Immensely, man.
Did that release like a lot of pressure once you were like, I'm all in?
Yeah, because the thing, I was like, I made a commitment. I said to myself, like, I'm going to go like bankrupt bust. Like, I'm going to literally go all in on this one thing. And that way that no matter if I fail, I can at least say to myself, all right, I did that. I tried my best.
Yeah.
I gave it my all. And so it became like an obsessive thing where I quit everything else.
Yeah,
And
wow.
I was just like, I'm going to dedicate every single thing I do from the moment I wake up to what breakfast I eat. It's going to be a choice that's I feel is going to enhance my capacity as an actor or the pursuit of it. So everything shaped around pursuing it. And like that was like 3 or 4 years ago. And and it's interesting you were talking about how the world shapes our like our perspectives and kind of limits us. I had to really change my framework, and my mind state became, well, if there's even just one person in the world who's done it, well, they're a human being and I'm a human being. So that means I can do it.
Wow.
It's
And
as
so,
simple as that,
advice.
you know?
off camera, you mentioned that you're from Liverpool in Western Sydney. So
Yeah.
when you were sort of coming up, or even like to this day, did your parents support you?
So like I had ethnic parents, you know, I have ethnic parents. So, and
Yep.
you know, they come, like they want you to work hard. They want you to have safety. Like they want the things that they never had.
Yep.
And it's a wonderful thing to want that for your child. And so growing up,
They can't comprehend.
yeah, man, it's like, what do you
like
mean you're gonna be an actor? Like how, like you
It's
know,
like
like
lawyer, doctor, like just get a trade. Like it's
yeah.
this social media and this acting and this creative stuff is for them. It's they don't understand it. It's just different to their day of like coming here. Because you know I'm ethnic as well, and I know I'm guessing your parents would have come from a third world or a country that didn't have this. So it's like, no, you're coming here. We're gonna work hard. Just do your trades. Put your head down.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
you're trying to do something completely different.
And you know, like my mother was she was quite an educated person, and so she instilled the idea of education is a powerful tool in all of us. And so we all got heavily educated, like poor educated, you know what I mean? Like my brother's a pharmacist, my sister was a lawyer, she's now a writer.
Wow.
And I got 2 degrees. Like I went down that route as well. because I saw the value in it, in like skill setting myself, because I understood where they were coming from. Like I understood you came from nothing and you had to rebuild everything, and you're trying to give us that opportunity to have a leg up. And so they did support, like they supported the fact that I was creative and that I had talent, but they were realists, and it was in a sense of, but how is that even possible? And for the most part, you know, early on, like, how was it even possible?
This was back in the 90s as well, right?
Yeah,
like
the
before
90s.
social media, it was just traditional film acting, all that sort
Probably
of stuff.
right to a degree.
No,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
definitely.
saying. You know, then they were probably right. It's like, where do you even go to be seen? Like, how does that door even open? And I guess just over time, seeing that like I was falling into opportunities and I was always getting great responses, I realized like there's something about this that I have. And it's the irony that you're saying, did my parents support it? So like 4 years ago, I remember I put up a couple of videos on social media, just like I was acting, and they're just like funny videos. And my mother calls me and she's like, "So when are you gonna become this big actor?" Like she was like, "I watched your videos. You're just awesome." Like, and it's the first time I was
that's
like,
amazing.
"Oh wow, okay." Like you support this, like you see it. She's like, "Yeah." Like when is this gonna happen for you? I'm like, "Nah, it's gonna happen. Trust."
That's so interesting
That's
because I
cool.
think there's been such an evolution in obviously like the entertainment space from social media.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started out making videos, my dad, he was a film director and actor back in China, and he had no idea about social media at all. And so when I told him what I was doing and what I was trying to become, he was like, "Nah, no chance. The traditional filmmaking route is too difficult. It's like 1 in a million chance." But then when he found out that social media was a thing and I started getting some results, he flipped. He's like, "Oh, you know what? You know, I support you." So was that sort of like what happened with your mum?
Yeah, I think she just kind of realized, you know what, man, like he's got it, and like
'Cause
you
she could see
post
it.
stuff out. Yeah, she could see it.
Yep.
And I was just like, nah, don't worry about it. Like I would always say, like at that point, once I changed my framework of how I saw it, if somebody else can do it, I can do it. I realized, okay, but it's not just about like, okay, I can do it and saying it. I have to have my actions to back it in order for that to happen.
Yep.
And the way I looked at it was, if only 1% of people who try to do this do it, then I have to do what only 1% are willing to do.
Yes.
And it was that mindset, having the action and the word combined and believing. For me, it was like, it wasn't an if, it was a when.
100%.
Wow, that's great.
And that's why I set out to, there's a difference in working towards something with hope and working towards something with like an acknowledgement that it's going to be. When you think you might have like a 1 in 10 chance, you give it 1 in 10 energy. Whether you know it or not, you're always saving some just in case.
That's such good advice.
You know, but when you're like, no, it's gonna happen, you throw everything at it, all in, and you're so all in because you're like, if anything, it's the other way around. You're like, I better go as hard as I can before the opportunity comes knocking, and I'm not ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I went so all in an insane way where it's just like I just knew determinedly. I didn't know how. I couldn't understand how that was going to happen, but I just was like, if I take care of my side of it, the universe will take care of the rest.
Love it, bro.
As long as I come full. And it did, man. Like out of nowhere, you know, my entry point was Furiosa, like the Mad Max film. And I got that, like, it wasn't even an audition. It was because I had built relationships in the industry where I had done other auditions and I had always built a good reputation with everything I had done, that the casting director for it told them, you need to audition these few people. And I was one of those people.
That's cool, bro.
You know, you get caught out of nowhere and you get put in this room and you're like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
And you perform and you do a whole day of intensive. And then a week later you find out you're now George Miller hits you on a Zoom.
Yeah, wow.
And you're like,
Insane.
That's wild.
you're like, sorry? Like George Miller wants to talk to me. And he's like, I want to offer you this role. I don't know if you want it. Like, have a read. I'm like, I want the role.
Just before you go forward on the the relationships and things, I'd love to dive into. I love what you said about you went all in and you had to do what only the 1% do, right?
Yeah.
What did that look like practically? Because a lot of there's some people out here watching that want to be actors or like
in anything,
right? So
anything
you
in
said you
life,
went
yeah.
all
Anything.
in. Can you break down like what that looked like? Was it spent dedicating 8 hours a day to practicing scripts? Was it attending auditions and networking events? Was it, I don't know, sending videos out to directors and saying, or applying for roles? Like what was the transition from going 1 out of 10 energy to 10 out of 10 energy practically?
Yeah, I think the first step was mentally preparing yourself where there was an intention. creating intention is super important with everything we do.
Yep.
And so, like I was saying before about like even waking up and what breakfast I would choose, there was an intention behind it. Me training, there was an intention behind it. What I would watch, what I would listen to, what am I gaining from these things? What is the intention? So for me, it started becoming just a mental thing, and then a physical, practical side to it. And it's interesting, like in the film industry, it's not like you do this and then this happens, you do this and then that happens.
Yeah, you got to be prepared.
You don't know how it's going to operate. So it's like skill yourself up as much as possible. So I just found like if I engulfed my everyday into thinking as an actor, then it start to seep into everything I did. Because once you start identifying as something, you become it. Firstly for yourself, right?
Yeah,
I love what you're saying about that, because that's literally our motto in the locker room. We literally say that locker room is preparing for the game of life. So if you think of a locker room, it's like a sport locker room, right?
Yeah.
This locker room is preparing for the game of life. And we literally say the reason we're doing these episodes and bringing people like you on is so that people have the skills, mindset and character traits, so that when the opportunity comes, they're prepared, right?
They're prepared,
so that's what you're saying is literally our motto. So I love it.
So what does, an aspiring actor have for breakfast? Like what is the mentality? What you said you had to, live, breathe, work the way an actor would.
Yeah. Well, for me,
eating Nutri-Grain, like what?
Yeah.
I want to go down to like the micro.
I want to know.
And you look jacked as well, so we also want to know for that reason. You look jacked as well, so we also want to know what you eat for that reason.
Like for me, I looked at it like, okay, I want to have an actor's body. What does that mean? What kind of body does that mean to me? Like, what do I want to look like? What is my brand that I'm bringing out? So physically, how do I want to present myself? How do I dress? How do I speak? What are the actors that inspire me? So when it came to food, I started looking at it like I need to be eating food that's going to charge me and fuel me to grow my body and to have a very clear mind. I want to be healthy because I recognize food creates mood.
Yep.
And if you're in a positive space mentally, and that, a lot of that's driven from the nutrients that we eat, then I'll be able to approach the work better. So for me, it was like, okay, I got to make sure I'm eating the right, like a right balance of food that will give me the energy to go and do all the things I want to do. Training became extremely important to me because it was also a disciplinary thing. Like hard training meant that if I could discipline myself in one arena, I could do it across the board.
Yep.
What people don't realize about learning some things is you learn to learn. Like it's not easy to just understand how to learn something. You have to practice learning and adapting and adopting new ideas through practice in all avenues. So it became that thing where, like I think the power starts with you. So I would introduce myself as an actor more so that I was an actor. One of the first things I did as well was because I was so into music before I went into the acting. In order to really make a distinction for me, it wasn't about anyone else. I was like, I need to feel like this is where I am now. I reached out to a lot of artists and I said, I'm an actor. And if you need somebody to act in your video clips, I'm your guy. And so I did a video with Kobe D. And I used to be a rapper. So video clips for me was as an artist. So this was the first time, and it was about me separating myself from everything else and being an actor in something that would be so foreign as an actor for me to be in.
And the people recognize you as an actor.
Exactly.
Like, that's Matuse. He's an actor.
Yeah, he's an actor. Yeah. And
nice.
so it started, I did a few video clips, and that kind of solidified something for me, was like, okay, this is the pathway that I'm taking. And so, I don't want to tell people that you have to do like a list of specific things, because I really don't think it's the things you do. It's the way you approach the things you do. They're going to get you there. Because people ask me all the time, should I do stunt training? Should I go into this class? Should I do that? And I tell them, if you feel like you are going to benefit from it and you're going to resonate with it, do every single thing you possibly can that comes your way. Say yes to as many things and give it your all as much as you can, because we don't have to have done the same things
100%.
to get the same result. Because I didn't go to no acting classes. I didn't have the opportunity to, I didn't. Like I learned a lot of the stuff on sets. I learned a lot of the stuff by sitting there and obsessing over certain actors. Like I would pick an actor and I'd watch 10 films of theirs to see what they did in different films, you know what I mean? And how they were able to apply themselves. That worked for me. And I think it's about kind of finding what inspires you, but one of the things that I think helps is, so when I would cook, and this is another thing I prefer to, what I started doing was I cooked all my meals.
Smart.
So like 95% of the food I eat, my hands were involved in the preparation or the cooking of it, because I felt like I would be more conscious about what's going on, and there's an essence of being in the presence. And I would listen to stuff that would like not necessarily like motivational talks, but things that would motivate me to enhance how I understood my capacity as a human, the potential. I would always try to remind myself that as not just me as an individual, but me as a human, I have potential, so much untapped potential. We all have, that you have to kind of remind yourself to like tune into that and push what that potential looks like. Interestingly, getting tattooed helped me a lot learn about discipline.
Well,
because I would do 13-hour sessions.
Whoa, like
actual 13 hours of tattooing.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro.
Like I something weird with me, man. But like when I'm like, okay, I'm in the mood to get tattooed, I'd book like a couple of days in a row, and he'd come to my place, and I would just spend the whole day, and you'd learn a lot about yourself.
Going being through severe pain.
You have to submit, and you have to kind of find a place of, where you accepted that you've chosen to do something, and you just have the discipline to see it through.
Yeah,
you know?
There's such a difference in being sort of like yourself as the brand versus working for a company, for example. So what you mentioned about, what do you do practically to actually prepare yourself to be an actor? It's not like you work at Officeworks as a checkout chick and you've got to learn the register. You've got to learn how to, type emails and scan the barcode. It's actually you're trying to train yourself to become who you are and find who you are.
Yeah.
And so when you mention like, and I'm in the same position because I do social media as a living, so I'm also the brand. It's like you've got to find that sort of like true essence of yourself where you know who you are. And so training for the career of being an actor or training for the career of being a social media creator is actually just doing everything in your life that you feel is going to enhance who you truly are, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you can obviously get acting training, speaking training, script writing, all these things. But at the end of the day, it's like, did you have to sort of find out what character that you would like be resonate with the most out of any other character, because no one can replace you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what movies would someone want me for versus someone else? It's like, how can the viewers out there sort of like find who they are?
And guys, before we continue, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Getaways.
The boys and I are blessed to be partnering up with Getaways, who have some of the most amazing short-term accommodation in the country.
Whatever the occasion, whether it's a cheeky boys trip away or you want to surprise your partner with a holiday, Getaways has got you covered.
And guys, go ahead and check out Getaways on their website or on their social media platforms. We'll be leaving the link in the description below. And without further ado, let's jump straight back into the episode.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like a two-pronged thing where you want to know who you are to such an extent that you know what you can bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right. And branding, I look at it like branding is a very important thing as a personality in that sense. So for me, it was like, how do I imagine myself looking? How do I imagine myself like, what's the truest version of me? And part of that was the tattoos was a true version of who I was, so whether the world would understand it or not.
Were you envisioning the tattoos before you got them? Is that part of your persona?
I wanted tattoos since I was like 11 years old.
Okay.
I used to draw like tattoo designs. My parents thought I was crazy. But my mother used to always say to me, like if you become a famous like actor or musician, you can get tattoos, but other than that, everyone's just gonna think you're a criminal. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna become a famous actor then, and I just get all these tattoos. But for me, I made like, it was a conscious decision where I was like,
there's no going back, bro.
There's no going back.
You've decided like this is gonna be a look
for sure,
and that may pigeonhole you.
This is what people say, like, do you think you get typecasted? And I'm like, you get typecasted regardless, because your skin tone, your like your gender, your size, your height, like all these elements still position you to what you can and cannot play. Now, you might be able to do a variety of stuff, but like the end of the day, the first film I did, Furiosa, they covered all my tattoos anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like, like I thought I got the role, I thought the tattoos would have helped me get the role. And when I spoke to George, he was like, oh, no, I'm covering everything. Really? I was like, oh, wow, it didn't even matter. But like, it's an added element. But more than anything, for me, the tattoos aren't about how they see me, it's how I see me. Okay. And because when I see myself now, I feel like it's the truest version of me. I feel the most confident to walk into any room because I know me. And I feel like when I see myself, even in the physical, I'm like, this is who I want to be. This is who I am. And so I'm really comfortable going into any room. And that alone, I think, has helped me get a lot of roles and build, because people are just like, I like your energy. You're just so you. And so I don't mind the idea of people thinking, oh, you're gonna get typecast, because it's like, one, a lot of the roles are like all the roles I played so far have been so fun. They're the roles I want to play. And it's like so it works for me. But the other thing about being an actor, and I will say this, I think the greatest thing you can do if you want to be an actor is become a really in tune human. I think acting is storytelling, and the most ancient thing we've all done, our species has ever done, that signifies and differentiates, makes us different to every other species on this earth, is that we tell stories. We create myths and ideas, and we unify on these stories, and we have this power of story. And acting is a physical, holistic expression of storytelling. And I think if you're gonna do that, you have to know what it means to be human. And so a lot of the stuff I learned was observing other people. It's in a weird way.
Yeah, that's
But
cool.
I'd watch people, you know, if you catch people, like you see like a guy and a girl.
I love people watching, bro.
People watching is amazing,
So
man. When
interesting.
people, especially when they're in their moments of emotion, like somebody, you see somebody else make somebody laugh. And no one know, like they don't know I'm watching, but I'm like, oh, look at these guys. And you see that true reaction, and you're like, wow, that's what that looks like.
love
to
it.
feel that
I love it.
aliveness, you know?
Me and my girlfriend will sometimes sit, as creepy as it sounds, and not in a weird way, but just like we'll be like, oh, what do you think they're talking about?
Yeah.
You know, what's the relationship here? Is
Yeah.
it you know, father, daughter? Is it his partner? Are they angry? Are they fighting? Like, why did she give him that reaction? You know, like it's so fascinating. Human behavior is so amazing.
Truly.
And so, as you said, like if you can kind of just sit back and just observe, I'm sure you can learn a lot about humans.
So much, man. So the more you learn about like humans, the better actor you'll become, because really acting is reacting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always try to remind other actors that like your sole job is to just be in the presence, and then when something is given to you, whether it's through dialogue or through action, react to it. That's what we do as humans, and that's going to give the most truest expression of you know, performance.
Obviously, you've been in some big movies. You've worked with some very, very high-profile actors, such as, you know, Chris Hemsworth, Ryan Gosling. Like, tell us, what was that like walking into a room where you were sort of like, you know, at a similar as they are, because you're in the same movie?
Yeah. It's always, I mean, like like people look, like you could imagine on a movie set, people are always like second taking me, because they're like, hold on, is this guy meant to be here? Like people freak out a little bit.
Really? Is he robbing us?
I mean, like, yeah, you know how I look.
Yeah.
I'm aware of how I look, and but like I'm always super smiley and stuff. So like, oh, you're so nice. I love it when you finish a production, and then there's always like the rap party, and everyone's had a drink or two. People are a lot more comfortable, and then you get people coming out like, "You're so nice." You know, when I first met you, I thought, you know, this and that. It's like, yeah, I
love
know,
that. I love
you know. But even like Chris, like when I became really like close friends with Chris through shooting Furiosa. Like I've been to his house. I've met his
Seems
family.
so humble, bro.
Yeah,
He's
he
a
does.
beautiful human being, and like one of the things I learned from Chris is like, Chris is, like we were speaking about this before, an ambivert, you know, and he's definitely an ambivert, even more to the introvert side. And, you know, you'd see him enter a room and you'd think, man, this guy's got it made. Everyone loves him. He could go up to anyone and talk to anyone, and he probably doesn't want anyone talking to him. And Chris is like in the corner, like, I hope they come and talk to me, because like it's hard to go up to people and stuff. You know, even he feels those kind of ways.
Wow,
You know what
that's
I mean?
cool.
Never imagined
Yeah,
that.
you wouldn't imagine it.
There you
And-
go.
Yeah.
And you know,
This is Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth, yeah, and he keeps like his day ones around him, like all the people that are around him, he's known since like high school, and some of them even younger than that, you know. And when you hang out with them as a crew, it's not like Chris is, you know, the guy, and then they're all just it's like they're all equal. Everyone's still
that.
playing around, and you're just like, man, they're just people, you know. We're all just people trying to do our thing, and that's why we have to be careful with how we quantify value in life.
Yeah.
Value isn't the things you attain, like. This is why I always see people as equal to me, because life is just a set of experiences. You don't really get to, you know, a lot of the times you don't get to choose what kind of experiences are going to come your way. You get to choose how you engage in those experiences. And that's the only thing you need to do. And so I don't rate anything else other than how people are present in their experiences.
You shouldn't just you shouldn't put people on a pedestal and think everyone's, you know, people are above you. Like people shit the same. You know, as basic as it is.
Like you this
people trip over, like they do some awkward shit that no one saw. Like you think you see Chris Hemsworth and you're like this guy's like probably walks perfectly. You know, everything he does, he turns his head the right way. Like
He's pretty
but
perfect.
He is. He's the
Yeah,
man. But at the same time, it's like he has awkward times where he's embarrassed himself or done something. Like
Yeah,
he's
man, he's
bro.
human. But you know, in saying that, like on the other end of it, I have to say, like,
He's perfect.
he's quite an amazing human, and he's such a giving person. Like you notice that, like I went to one of his birthday parties, and like you could just feel the energy. There's true love that everyone has for him that's in his life because he's a giver. But one of the tripped out moments was like after Fall Guy had come out. I remember he had watched Fall Guy, and I get this text like at 7 a.m. in the morning. I don't know why I'm the first thing on this guy's mind, but
That's amazing.
I know. But he sends me this text like, I just watched Fall Guy, and man, you were brilliant in it. It was funny, you were charismatic, and he's just like going in. And like I've known Chris by this point for like a year and a half, and Chris isn't the kind of he doesn't give you like just like a compliment for no reason. He, you know, we did a whole film together. He never mentioned anything about any acting. Like he talks to you about the real stuff, just like life. And I knew he watched it and he was impressed. And they tripped me out. It was like, this is a person who, you know, you're idolizing. You think they're at the peak of your career path, and they're giving you props. Like
That's so cool, man.
And it was such a humbling. Those kind of moments, you're just like, man, that's wild. You know what I mean?
And that's cool because you almost, now that he's been humble and sort of giving you the compliments, you'll know that like you learn that behavior, or like when you have sort of your cup's filled up. Now I'm sure if there's a younger guy that comes on that really impresses you, you'll be willing to pass that on. So it's almost like a chain reaction effect where if everyone's sort of passing on, you know, wisdom or encouraging even guys at the top, then that'll create a culture in acting and the guys coming through to do the same thing, which is such a more beneficial way of operating than sort of like, you know, trying to like ego test and things. And I think that's one of the things that you notice from guys who are at the top, they have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you notice that with some of the other guys as well?
I think I always say when people seem to be like swinging their energy around, it's because they don't believe themselves yet.
Yeah.
Insecurity.
You know what I mean? It is. It's like they still need to prove themselves to themselves. And you notice that a lot. For me, it's a creative sharing. If a director or an actor are comfortable in like sharing space and like, oh, that's a great idea, and it's solely for the fact that the idea is great, as opposed to who said the idea. That's how I know they're comfortable. If they kind of want to control every single element and it's all about me and my ideas only because then I get the credit, then they're not yet comfortable. And so I really like when I get to work with people who are open and sharing, and like working with like Ryan Gosling and David Leitch, the director for Fall Guy. You know, I'm a new actor. They have no need to hear out anything I have to offer. Like they don't, you know.
Yeah, but they do.
But they do. And it's because, and it's not because they're being nice, although they are truly nice people. It's because they recognize when you've done something well, they acknowledge the work.
And you put in the reps. Like you
know
deep
you
down
bring
value
something
of it.
in, you bring value, they recognize value. And I think I prefer that than you just being nice, because at the end of the day, it's work, you know, and it's about the value. If you're comfortable enough to go, we love what you did, so we're going to change these lines, and we're thinking of doing this, and what do you think? And you're like, well, I think we could try this out. And they're like, yeah, we like that, and let's do that.
Oh,
it's like,
that's cool.
What the hell? Like, you know,
that's mad.
You know, for my character for Fall Guy, like the whole ending wasn't the way it was written in the script. You know, we changed it multiple times. On the day, they had rechanged it. And then when we got to set, they changed it again because I had an idea. And they just, what I did yesterday, they were like, we really liked how you went with the character, so we're going to go this way with it.
Wow.
And it's that kind of power of collaboration.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Is
I love that
affirming,
movie, bro.
Super affirming. You know?
I think so many people kind of get into this field for like the purpose of being praised and obviously being that sort of person that everyone worships and all these things. And obviously in this industry that I've been in for so long, it's like you've got to check yourself constantly. You've got to humble yourself constantly. And I think humility for us is like a staple value of everything that we do. So what encouragement would you give to guys out there that maybe want to achieve, you know, some sort of big success in their life, but like they're not sure how to be humble about it, or maybe they do want that, and they're not sure if they're doing it for the right reasons. Like, I guess, what advice would you have for them?
I think you have to be careful about because there's humility, there's egotism in deep humility, you know, and people get mistaken. I think you're aware of your vices and your virtues. You're aware of what you're good at and what you're not. And if you're not, take some time out and become aware of what you're skilled at and what you're not so skilled at, so that you know what you can bring to the table and you know what you could be working on, right? But if you know what you're good at, you shouldn't be like, oh no, I'm not. Like that's bullshit. Like, I don't believe that, and that's ego.
Own it.
You should own it. You should be very well aware and recognize when you get the affirmations for that, and take them to heart. That doesn't make you the greatest, because you're also super aware of where you're not that good, or what your faults are.
That's
and
such
it's
good
about
advice,
keeping
man.
the balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just about conscious awareness and owning up to both of them.
Yep.
And so for me, when I get affirmations for the work I've done, when another actor who I hold in a high esteem says something positive about what we just did, I don't shy from it.
Just say thank you. Yeah.
I'm super thankful for
Yeah,
it, and I think about it. I take time to actually dwell on it, because I try to match up how I'm perceiving reality and how reality is perceiving me. And when they align very easily and naturally, then that's a good indicator that that's a real thing. You see what I'm saying?
That's so good.
You know,
yeah.
so if I think I did a good job and you're saying I did a good job, and I know you're not just saying it to say it, and so are you, then I did a good job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm going to learn what was it that I did that was a good job,
That's
so I
great.
can
That's
keep
great.
doing that.
That's
And if I
amazing.
didn't, let me do the same thing. What was it that I didn't work? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
about woe is me. Like put you aside and just think about the craft itself and how you can evolve that.
Bro,
you know?
that's such a good perspective. I just picked that up. Is almost like checking your perception of reality with other people's perception of reality, because a lot of people can get in their own heads about like the way they're perceived, but almost like if it's matching up, like you said, if what you think you're at and everyone else says you're at is matching up,
Yeah.
then there's a good chance that you did well.
Would you agree that your circle is also very important? The people around you, because in our last podcast, we were talking to a young man who found really big success, worldwide fame, in what he was doing, and he was saying that someone that he actually worked with, they're a mega superstar singer, and the people around her were all just yes people. Her idea of reality was warped because all the people around her were just clapping for every single thing they did. She could do no wrong.
One of the things I did is like I went real quiet from the world and kind of like I intentionally tried to have no one notice me at all, so that I could so I could really seek out who was still in my life, because like they mattered and I mattered to them. And I told everyone, I kind of put everyone on warning in my life. I said, if you don't bring value to my life, then I'm going to cut you out. Not because I don't love you, not because I don't want well for you, but I want well for me more. You know what I mean? It matters to me. And so for me, it was just like, it's not to say I want you out. It's also to put you on game. Like I want you to value what you're bringing to the table, because I value, if I'm in your life, I want to bring value into your life.
Definitely.
And I think it's important to be around people that there's a mutual essence of value. And value, is a subjective thing in the sense of what form of value, but there should be a level of value that people bring into your life. Who is around you is so important. You know the saying, show me your 5 friends and I'll tell you your future. Yeah, it's real, man. And so for me, I try to make sure everyone that is around me, here's how you avoid yes men. If everyone around you have their own goals, ambitions, and they're determined and they're willing to go for their thing, they don't gain anything from telling you yes. They got their own stuff going on.
Yeah, that's what we're big on, bro. That's why we do so well. We're all on our own journeys. We're always hustling, and we'll pull each other up.
100%, we call each other out.
Did you find that going back to that? Did you find that a lot of people changed? With your recent success, people
People come out the woodworks.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
People come out the woodworks.
I knew you were gonna
like
be a famous
mother.
actor. I knew you were gonna make it.
People popping up out everywhere, and it's like you owe them something now. It's like,
Yes.
you knew me from. I'm like, yes, I knew you. Doesn't mean anything.
Where
Like,
were
where
you?
have you been in the
Where
last
were
few
you?
years?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the reason. Like, I go extra quiet, because then I know I know who was there. Like, it's a very clear line. I know who's been helping me. I know who's been actually supporting, who's been genuinely recognizing my journey, and they're doing their thing. The people that are all around me all have their own pathways, all they have their own journeys. Even those the friends of mine who I know are interested in acting and who want to pursue it, I told them, like, listen, don't ever expect me to give you a handout or to help you. I will never help you in a handout stance. I will never do it, because like it was such a struggle for me to get in. I didn't know anybody. I didn't get a handout. It wasn't because of just because of somebody I knew. It was because of the work. And I will help you because of the work. I want you to work so that I feel like I want to introduce you, and people be like, yeah, that's the person for the job because of your work ethic.
Put the work in.
Yeah, not because you knew me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Don't ever,
definitely.
and you don't want that. You don't want that to be the way that things happen. Every time anyone's ever brought me up in a conversation is because of my capacity and they
want
the
to.
reputation. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost
for
gives
sure.
them status by mentioning you because it makes them look good for mentioning you because you're so
because
good,
you're
right?
doing your thing, and so it's like it's breeding a culture of that amongst your crew. Like if you want well for yourself, you should want well for those around you.
100%.
And well for those around you isn't them sitting around waiting for a meal ticket from you. It's them. It's
definitely.
them being able to get their own food as well.
Did you lose friends along the way? Like
sure.
jealousy, like
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
like
I mean, you have to be. I always say you have to be somewhat delusional. You have to have a level of delusion to make it in this kind of an industry. I don't know if you feel that way too, right? You have to have this insane sense of self-belief that is delusional because it's like how is that even going to work out? And then you have to match the delusion with the work, the capacity to go and no, it's so going to happen that I need to do all of this crazy work. And in doing all that work, there's not a lot of time for people, man. 100%. And I would tell people like I can only really have time for people around me that are kind of collaborating at some level with my goals. Otherwise, like I'll hit you up every now and then with a text, make sure you're doing good, but you're not gonna see me.
It's really hard, because like I have some friends, from back in the day that obviously we're on different life paths, and I wish them all the best. We're still close, but it's like we can't see each other constantly, and you get messages, or I guess in my case, like, oh, you don't care about me anymore, or like, how come you never see me? And like, I love the person, and I'm sure you get this as well, but it's like, we don't have the capacity to, cater to all these different things. And I think another thing on friends is like, did you ever have a situation where you knew some people from back in the day? And we just kind of spoke about this, about people coming out of the woodworks. But I remember there was a time in my life where I started making videos, which is about 10 years ago. And the first viral video I had, all my friends from my old school got into a group chat. And it was intentionally just to talk smack about me. And so one of my best friends that happened to be in that group chat sent it to me. And it was so funny because I saw the names and they were like, oh, I can't believe you got so lucky. And like, they literally said, I'm so pissed off by how successful this video has gone.
bro.
Wow.
And then it was so funny because I didn't see those people.
I always say you have to be somewhat delusional. You have to have a level of delusion to make it in this kind of an industry. I don't know if you feel that way too, right? There's
And I went into the bathroom and lo and behold, walks in this guy that used to be probably the #1 smack talker against me that I had been told by my friends. And he starts pissing next to me and he goes, bro, I just want to apologize for everything I said to you back in the day. Like, you've actually done a good job and like, I shouldn't have been that way. So like, it was a powerful moment when I was like, you know what? Like, I actually, like, I obviously at the time I was a little bit like caught off guard by it. But at the same time, it's like these sorts of people, you just have to forgive them.
for sure.
And you have to understand where they're coming from. I don't hate these people. I don't, like wish the worst on these people, but like forgiveness is a massive, staple of our faith as Christians as well. You just got to pray for them and hope they see the other side of things. So my question is to you, like, has that sort of thing ever happened to you as well?
For sure. The thing is, I try not to pay too much attention to anyone else around me that I already don't feel 1,000% that they have their best interest for me. Like, because why feed into those kind of things? You're not going to benefit from it. But I've gotten texts from people. It's funny you say that because I've had messages from people who I didn't even know that they were like hating. Like I didn't even I had no clue. But they're like, I want to apologize, man. I didn't believe in you, and I used to think like that's crazy what you were trying to do, and now I see what you're doing. It's amazing. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you didn't believe, but but thank you. Like, because to me, it's not even about me that moment. It's about them.
They're putting their limitations on you,
for sure, and on themselves. And then them realizing, hold on, that was stupid of me. And for me, I that's more like good for you because that's growth, and that's growth for you. It doesn't take anything from me, it doesn't add anything to me, but it does for your life, And for real, man, forgiveness. Like, I think the more happy people are, the better the world becomes, because people, when you're content, you're not stressing about what everyone else is doing. You're just doing you. But when misery loves company, so when you're mad at the world, you're mad at everyone in it. And you look at everyone who's doing anything and you hate them, you grit your teeth at them. And it's like, I don't want that energy for you, and I don't want you to feel that way towards me. I want you to be successful in whatever avenue you choose, because hey, so on a selfish level, it means that you're no longer projecting bad energy to me, but on a selfless level, you're happy too.
You're improving.
Yeah, you're
awesome,
improving.
In terms of like preparing for roles, I know we're talking about a bit off camera, but like I know, and one thing we're big on is sort of like, as we're talking about tunnel vision on preparation. Is there a few out of the box things, like we were speaking of before camera, that you do to really get tunnel vision?
Method
on a role?
acting, or like, you know what I mean?
You know,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking preparation, like, you
yeah.
know, there's obviously, you know, being an actor, probably girls or plenty kinds of people who are trying to, like, you know, holler at you and things.
Yeah.
Anything that
Plenty kinds of people.
people might, you know, or things that you've done preparing for acting that like give you tunnel vision.
Yeah, I like when I'm prepped for a character, I like to create like playlists of what the character would listen to.
Yeah.
And I go for like long walks. I like walking a lot. I think walking is quite
How good's
meditative.
walking, bro?
Walking
Did you
is
only just get into
underrated.
it, or were you always a walker?
No, like when I was younger, I was a walker without realizing. I used to go for walks, and then
It's your
I
creative spirits, like it gets
Yeah,
your brain
yeah,
working,
man.
you know?
You know
And
what's
then I
funny?
didn't do
Sorry
it
to
for so
interrupt
long.
you.
Yeah.
At my old school, there was Thursday sport. You could play soccer, rugby, and everything. There was a sport called walking, which I did. And you walk across the bridge and back.
Don't say that on camera.
Were you good at it? Did you come first?
I was first place every time.
That was that's
What
a
you and
great
me could have
sport
been
to
walking
play.
together
Sure.
every Thursday
About
sport.
that life, bro.
Love it.
I love to walk. Like people see me walking, they're like, "Do you need a ride?" I'm like, "No, man, this is intentional, bro.
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
car.
I'm working.
I'm working. Yeah." So I'd go for walks, especially late at night, because some of the characters, I don't want to intimidate other people while I'm walking, and some of the characters, the way that I would imagine how they would walk, how the
staunch.
energy, they'd be a little bit intimidating, and so I'd take them out late at night so they can have a bit more freedom to roam. But tunnel vision is important in the sense of, for me, not just even preparation for one role, but just preparation entirely. Like people would see me in the gym and they'd be like, "Man, you're going so hard. Like, are you preparing for a role?" And I'm like, "I'm preparing for every role."
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And then like, "Oh, okay, so there's not one specific." I'm like, all of them that are coming to me, I'm always in prep mode. And when I had finished Fall Guy and Furiosa, I had a bit of time away. There was the strikes going on in America. And I knew that there'd be a little period of time where I won't be able to audition for anything. There wasn't anything going around. My agent had warned me.
Instead of sitting on your ass.
Yeah,
and
I was like, no, I'm not gonna. You know, it was a perfect time for me. I started writing. I've been like working on my own film, like a script, and I started just really delving into like training and stuff. And the irony of it is like I went celibate for like a year.
Wow, here we go.
That's
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
We're big on that here.
you're in the right room.
Yeah. And the way I looked at it was, the reason I did it. I wanted to, because I was starting to box out a lot of people, and I wanted to kind of just spend as much time on my own as I possibly could, so I get really comfortable with just being by myself. Because I knew the kind of industry I was entering in, you got to be careful with what kind of energy you have around you, and everyone wants to hang or whatever.
Yep.
And if you're not aware, that could become problematic. And I get along with women very easily a lot, and so I can get lost very easily in that.
Yep.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do a year where if I'm celibate, then I have only a few things that I can focus on anyways, and it would teach me a
100%.
level of discipline. And I was like, I'm gonna do 12 months of this. And everyone around me was like, that's crazy, bro. Like right now, everyone wants to hang with you, and this is the time you're choosing to do it. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the right time to do it, because if I can do it where I feel like it's my entry point, and I can do it at this point, then I can do it anytime.
Wow.
And it was so
Powerful.
yeah, it really was, man. I learned so much about myself, about like my own energy, and I just found myself enjoying, like I've always liked my own company, but in that year, it was like I was loving my own, like it was so hard to have me do anything other than like, yeah, but I could just do that with myself. Like, yeah, but I could spend that time doing this. So my time, my value for time just increased, and it became very difficult to want to waste time. And so for me now, one of the things is like, I don't feel ashamed or guilty about not giving people my time.
Wow.
You know, I don't owe anyone. Time is the only thing, bro, we can't ever get back. It's such a scarcity type of thing to have.
Yeah.
I don't owe anyone any of that time, and no one does. Like, you got to use your time the way you want to, and if you're like growing, that's the best way. And so celibacy for 12 months was solid. It was a really enriching experience and a disciplinary experience.
Was it tough? Or did you find it easy?
I found it very welcoming, man. Like, I think I was in the right mind state for it.
Yeah.
And
you're doing it for the right reasons.
Right reasons, yeah. And it was a very personalized thing. If anything, like I I enjoyed it so much. Like even after 12 months, like I dragged it out a couple extra months. But it was just more so for me. It was like I wanted to like definitively do 12 months.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as it is, it's not like, okay, now I'm out of celibacy. You
No,
know,
yeah, let's go.
You know, it was just like, no, now it's the title was over. But, you know, the things that I've learned from it, the way I use my time is still there. You know,
Wow.
I think for the, you know, people at home, they're always wondering, because obviously there's the no fat movement, there's the celibacy, and everyone's always thinking like, what's the advantages, you know? And whilst, yeah, there's testosterone, you know, you improve your gym and whatnot. But I think one of the things is like, especially as a man, is the time aspect. Like, you know, inherently we're, as a man, you know, most men thinking about women, right? You wake up, you're thinking about women. As a single guy, you know, you're thinking about, all right, when am I going to, throughout my day, am I going to run into a woman at this place? I'm going to be at work. Is there going to be a woman there? Like, even subconsciously, you're always thinking about women. But as soon as you've taken that out, think about how much time you've just gained,
And
and
mental
even
space.
mental space, bro.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking. You know, you go to a audition, or you go to like a business meeting, like whatever it is, a social outing. You're not thinking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in someone's pants. How am I gonna talk to these girls? There's girls on that table. You're just thinking about your business.
you're there to do.
What you're
Yeah,
there to do.
definitely,
And you're
definitely.
more
More
That's
present.
freedom, bro.
Yeah, it
I
is.
I think
it's freedom.
something that, yeah, as we spoke about off camera, like you're in the right place to talk about celibacy because, you know, a lot of us practice it. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now, and bro, it's like changed my life. And I think like the reasons that, you know, I do it as well is it's for many reasons, but underlyingly for sort of spiritual benefits. And you know, when I was kind of a couple years ago traveling a lot for work and doing all the crazy parties and all that sort of stuff, it was unfortunate because I didn't understand the purpose of like being intimate with someone. I kind of almost like weaponized my career to get women.
Right.
So it was sort of for the wrong reasons. And I'll always remember meeting up with, you guys might know who this is, Will Singe. He's a pretty famous singer. And I remember seeing this guy back in sort of 2020. We caught up for lunch. We went to the gym together. And it was really interesting because I was going through a phase where I was just, you know, sleeping around loads, not preserving my energy, and kind of just like, you know, doing sort of like living for the world in that way. And he said to me, he asked me like a really interesting question. He goes, bro, like, do you use your fame to sleep with girls?
You're like, hell yeah.
And I was, and I was like, and I was like,
That's why I'm doing it.
yeah, I was like, like, I don't know if I'd say it like that, but like you know, it's definitely easier, and I sort of do indulge in it a little bit too much. And he goes, okay, that's interesting. Like,
And he's
like,
someone
why
that's
is that?
always been in a relationship since a young age, I'm pretty sure, right?
So he has, but I thought because he was doing world tours back then, he was performing in front of thousands, you know, everywhere, all over the place. And I thought he was doing the same thing because that's what's normalized to us in society. And I go, what about you, bro? And he goes, nah, man, like when I'm on tour, I literally do everything I can to stay away from women and preserve my energy. Bro, I found that shocking. Like I could not believe this guy with like the world at his feet. During that time, he was absolutely popping.
One of the biggest in Australia. Yeah,
Yeah, and he,
worldwide.
as you said, like he was just being so preserving of his energy. And I think what I found similarly to you is like the time aspect. It's like you want to make sure that like this spiritual energy is going towards something purposeful instead of just, you know, leaving it hanging in all these different places. So, yeah, man, like I think that sort of overcoming, like, as you said, Chris, like a lot of our primal instincts are towards women. It's like we're wired to do, so we're wired to procreate and all these things. But it's something that kind of what you said, you sort of can defeat that lust. You can get to a point in celibacy where you stop thinking about women all the time, where you actually start thinking about other things that mean more than just, you know, that primal instinct. So I guess, yeah, like, would you advise guys to do the same? I personally definitely would. A lot of us would as well. But how can they sort of start on it?
I think you pick the right time to do it. For me, it was, I chose to do it in that point because it was like, I knew it was the year before the films that I was doing will come out, and then I would start my career in the public sphere. And I wanted to kind of have a good handle of like, one, my timing, but also my energy. And I think, so I believe, you know, whenever you're trying to do things, there's a spectrum, and you kind of swing on the spectrum to extremes, and then you find a middle balance. And then the middle balance is because you've hit those extremes and you've understood them and you've conquered them, and then you can kind of work in the middle path. And so I think it's an extremely powerful thing, but to not do it, I don't think you should go into kind of, oh, I'm going to be celibate for a certain period of time, like it's like you're battling yourself, or you're challenging, like it's like treat it. It's quite a spiritual thing. Treat it as you're going into a relationship with yourself, and you're trying to grow a healthy relationship with yourself first and foremost before you can with anything and anyone else. So like for me now, even when it comes to those kind of interactions, I have a different level of what I want, even if it is a casual thing. It's like, but I want to really feel the energy from this person, that I like them, that I resonate with them, that I'm open to an exchange that is that their energy, I like their energy more than just their physicality. And one of the things that I enjoyed when I was celibate is like anytime you interact with a woman, it's solely, or anyone that you're attracted to, it's solely for the human interaction, and it goes nowhere else. And so it's quite enjoyable to just build with a person without even that little whisper of opportunity.
Yeah.
Where you don't ever feel like you need to try to like see if you could take it there, because just like, nah, I'm not going there. So I don't need to even think about going there. You
And
know?
the crazy part is, like, I know you're not doing it for this, but women can feel that.
For sure.
And funnily enough, the fact is that you're not trying to go forward, but they will want you more, because they sense the desperation, bro.
Yeah.
Imagine going to every encounter with a woman. Like, I've got a beautiful girlfriend, you know, it's not for me. But you know, for a single guy, every time you're speaking to a woman, in the back of your mind, you're like, you know, am I going to go forward with this? Like, I want to date her. I want to take her on a date. I want to, you know, potentially sleep with her. But you've taken that out. You're literally, as you just said, it's just for the encounter. They can sense that. They're like, wow, this guy's a good guy. He's having a conversation with me. He's not trying to get in my pants.
He sees me.
He sees me.
Yeah, you humanizing. It's the other thing, man. It also reminds you to humanize all people, you know, and to not try to like
just trying to get something.
Yeah, create like a you know, objective, make them as an object at any level. But I think that whole idea of desperation is important in anything we do, right? Like in any field of work, like the way we go about life, we shouldn't be desperate in life, because people feel that, man. There's an energy thing, and then that will block your blessings, man. Yeah, so like don't be desperate. Be comfortable and confident, and you know, like you'll have it come your way if it's supposed to come your way. You know.
Yeah, awesome, bro. On another topic, I'd love to hear from you. What was your most crazy, exciting, thrilling experience being on set, or a scene that you've shot that you really just you look back on and you're like, man, that was awesome?
So my first day on set for Furiosa, which is like my first day on set for a major film, period. Was my I don't want to like kill but I guess it's out. Is my death scene. And I remember,
why did you do that now?
God damn it! And,
we'll put a
spoiler alert. And just shooting your death scene as your first day on set is quite daunting, and it's also a big stunt. Like I'm on the side of this big they call it the 6 feet like wheeler. The wheels are 6 feet, and then the truck sits on top of it, and you're hanging from the side of this truck, and you're meant to just like, and the truck's meant to be moving, and then when you fall, you're falling, and you're swinging between these big wheels that are just like right next to you. And it's kind of like, okay, I just learned this stunt. I just learned how to move on this truck. I'm scared of heights. I don't like the idea of being on the side of this truck.
Was that the one on your Instagram where you got shot?
No.
Oh.
There was one. He was just playing around where the guy was like,
oh, no.
Was that the stunt?
No, it wasn't. They were just, that was pretty high up there. No, it was on the side of this truck, because the truck is literally going like 70K. So it's flying through, and you're having to act on it. I remember like it was exhilarating to kind of go through it. But I remember there was this moment where before we did our first take, and I'm strapped in, and I'm like, is this really what I want to do in my life?
It just all hit you, bro.
It all hit me, bro. I was like, hold on, man, this is wildness, you know. This is and mind you, like I had injured myself before on a stunt on a bike a month before it. I didn't feel invincible at that point. You know, I was like, no, man, you could really hurt yourself. Other stunties had hurt themselves while we're filming, and
no stunt double there?
I have a stunt double.
And sorry, I want you to keep going with the story. Did your stunt double have to do all your tattoos?
They put the tattoos
That's
on.
mad.
That's
mad. Yeah, they do like digital prints of your body.
What? Wow.
And they put it on the other guy, and you're just like, this is weird, man. There's another dude walking around like with all my stuff on. It's a super strange thing.
That's crazy.
But this particular stunt, like, they wanted me to do it so you could see it was me and stuff like that. And I'm always down, you know, for the challenge. But but I feel those things, you know. And so I just remember feeling that for this brief moment and going, no, man, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
And if I got to like do it this way, I'm gonna do it. And at the end of the day, feeling like, wow, like that, it showed me, it was another way to show myself, okay, what I'm capable of and what I truly want.
That's awesome.
But there were so many times, man, I'd be on set and you'd kind of look around and you'd see all these people involved and you'd be like, this is the most surreal thing ever.
Yeah, like pinch me moments.
It would
Yeah,
be, bro.
big
You've been
time.
dreaming of this since you were 10.
Yeah, bro. You know, and you know,
Now
the
you're
craziest thing
there.
about dreaming since I was 10. So like I had said before, Jim Carrey was the actor that kind of made me want to be an actor. And the movies were Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura that really inspired me. I just got back from shooting a movie with Peter Farrelly, who's the director of Dumb and Dumber.
Oh,
So like
no way.
So the guy who
Yeah.
indirectly kind of inspired me to
Yeah.
be an actor, I just got to work with him, and it's just like, man,
Mind-blowing,
Surreal.
It's just like full circle type of thing,
yeah.
and super humbling, and
Well,
I want to quickly, obviously, you know, we've talked about your tattoos.
Yeah.
I want to know the story. I want to know the story behind the tattoos. Is it you know, I've got cousins who are like fully tatted and it's kind of like a storyline of their life.
Yeah.
Is yours is there a story behind each tattoo? Is it just you love the look? Is it a combination? And also, I think Bayley, you wanted to ask about the headpiece.
oh yeah.
The-
Is there
the-
affiliation with the Pharaoh?
on the top of the head.
Yeah.
All my tattoos like definitely have like a meaning to me. They are a reflection of kind of my life's journey, and ideas that resonate with me. And so I've always wanted to kind of keep it's like a journal.
That's what
personal
I thought. Yeah.
The pharaoh that's on the top of my head, the reason I got the pharaoh there is I think about you know, traditionally the pharaoh was a representation of the gods on earth in the sense of the responsibility for the people and the idea of being a king of the domain that he surveyed. And so it was to kind of, this is the crown, the top of your head is your crown. And I wanted to put that level of, you know, being the king of all that I survey, to remind myself that my reality is only mine and your reality is only yours, and we have our own realities. And if I approach my reality, you either approach it as a peasant or a king. If you're a peasant, then you're the byproduct of reality doing things to you. But if you're the king of your reality, you are the one that's doing something to it. And I wanted to remind myself of the power I held in how I approached my reality.
Right, that's so cool.
That's
That just makes the
crazy.
tattoos
That's
even
mad.
cooler.
Yeah,
And that's
That's
why I
sick.
wanted it to be like a pharaoh, that peak of this oneness with the Godhead in a sense, and the representation of that on earth. For me, on a spiritual level, on a metaphysical level, it was how I would approach my reality, that I would always see it as like I am in control of what I can do with what I'm perceiving in front of me. And so there was a balance of having the pharaoh there compared to like other pieces that are about you know, I guess that's not a humble thing, but it's a necessary element to have.
Ah, that's awesome,
As
bro.
opposed to other ones that are about
I want to get
humility.
one now.
Is that
Oh,
your
wait, wait.
is
How
that your
often do you shave
favorite?
your head?
Is that your favorite tattoo? You'd say?
It's
know it's
definitely
hard
one
to
of them. Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely one of them. I do like the X as well, although it's it's here, right? Like I always
yeah.
forget.
Yeah.
Although like the X for me, I wanted the X by my eye because I'm like I like to study and seek out the unknown, and the X has always represented the unknown, and so having it by my eye meant that I was seeking the unknown. You know, I was seeking out the
Bro,
unknown.
that's so
That's
cool,
cool,
man.
man.
The depth and details.
Yeah,
so,
like I'm a real like deep thinker. So when it
Yeah.
comes to my tattoos, like there's a lot of levels of meaning for
That's
for
cool,
them, for
man.
me. Yeah,
I think we
mad.
would spend hours on just going through your
just
tattoos.
the tattoos, yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
next time.
Yeah, well, perfect way to wrap it up, I think. Just speaking, I guess, for the future for you, obviously, you know, you've been building up your career for so many years, and you sort of said you've really made a big break in the last sort of 4 years.
Yeah.
What's next for you? Where do you see yourself going? You're only just warming up. You got a long
Yeah.
career ahead.
For sure.
You got an amazing future ahead of you. I can see you're going to do, you know, amazing things with big roles, and more than you could ever imagine, right? In your head, in your imagination, where do you see that going? What's next for you?
So I have a couple of shows coming out. One on Amazon Prime called The Last Kings of the Cross.
Yeah.
Season 2, I get to play like the big antagonist, which is super
Nice.
fun.
That's cool.
And it was great because it's a more fleshed role. It's awesome. I have a show on Stan that will come out next year called Sunny Nights that is really exciting, working on it right now.
Yep.
This new movie with Mark Wahlberg and Peter Farrelly.
Ooh, nice.
So that's
Does he live in Australia now?
Yeah.
no,
what's
they're
the-
just be coming out here because they really
Wahlburgers.
enjoy filming
Wahlburgers,
stuff. Yeah, he's got Wahlburgers out here,
that's
but
crazy.
no, but they've
I think he bought a
coming
house
out
maybe,
more.
or he's just
Yeah, but you know when you got that kind of money, you buy a house.
Yeah,
every- got one in every country.
Yeah, for
somewhere
sure.
to stay.
I love him, man.
He's awesome in
love
person.
him.
He's a beautiful human being. I had a lot of fun, like just working with him in the brief time I got to. And right now it's so interesting. My schedule was so busy. Like I'm shooting something now, and we had to move the schedule around a little bit in order for me to shoot the other thing. And they're the kind of issues you want to have. You know,
Yeah,
when your
100%.
successes
Good
get in the way of
problems.
other. Yeah, good problems.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. For me, it's just evolving my craft more, and the next step for me is, I guess more leading roles and stuff like that. And I guess just breaking the mold of one being like from Australia, being from the West, just like the way I look, even with the tattoos, being able to break through and show what we can do.
Bro, it just goes to show.
That's amazing.
Like boy from the western suburbs, fully tatted. So like if someone's got an excuse, I don't look the part. You're like, mate, look at me.
Yeah.
I've got everything that someone would say would deter them from being
sure.
successful. But you've made it. You've owned it. You found a success. So it just goes to show that anyone can do it.
Anyone,
But
yeah.
you've outlined. It didn't come easy. You still
No,
had to work like a dog.
Like you have to work to a point where when you're seeing everyone else not working, you're working.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would always judge it. I would always think about what is that 95% of everyone else around me doing? I can't be just doing that. I got to be, you got to give it your everything. Like if you really want great things in life, you have to do great things. There's no shortcut to it. There's no ifs or buts about it. There's no, I'm just going to really close my eyes and hope for it. No, man, like speak it into existence through action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Love that, bro.
As a final point, what we like to do with all our guests is see if there's three main points you can provide to our viewers at home. Takeaway points, words of advice, anything that you could give them that they can use today. And when they watch this, they can use tangible things that they can use in their day.
I think every single day is an opportunity to do something. So like no matter how small minutia, if the plane is lifted a little bit higher, then you're still going in the right trajectory. So like don't downplay the little things. Every single thing counts. That's why I would say like I molded my whole day around my goal. Because I knew like every element of what I did was going to be impactful over a long period of time.
Awesome.
The second thing is like you have to have a delusional self-belief. Like no one's going to believe in you more than you are. And if you're not delusional about it, then you're not going to act delusionally about it. And so my delusion helped me act in such a way, like put in the effort in such a way where it was going to come regardless. It's you have to have that kind of conviction. And like back it up finally, like really back it up with action. No one owes you anything in life. No one's gonna come save you. You have to be the one willing to do it. You know what I mean?
Awesome,
Amazing.
bro. That's amazing advice.
Amazing, bro.
Perfect way to wrap it up.
Yeah, and if the viewers want to follow you on your journey, where can they find you, bro?
On Instagram, Matuse the Pharaoh. Pretty much Matuse the Pharaoh anywhere.
Yeah.
You'll be able to find me. Yeah.
100%, bro. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys.
And
Bless.
perfect way to wrap it up. Peace.
Sure.
Thank you.
Peace.